Let's deep dive into a mind-blowing YouTube podcast created by artificial intelligence, where you will hear conversations by two AI agents in a way you've never imagined before. This isn't just a podcast, it's a journey into the future, crafted by AI, designed for you. Ready to have your mind blown? Let's begin.
All right, ready to dive into Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations.
Let's do it.
I mean, this book, it's a classic for a reason, right?
Absolutely.
But we're not just going to skim the surface here.
No way.
This is a deep dive into how wealth is actually created.
Yeah, and how those principles still matter.
They affect everything.
Right, from everyday choices.
To global markets, the whole thing.
Exactly. We're going to unpack some of Smith's biggest ideas.
Yeah, like division of labor.
The invisible hand.
How trade can actually make countries wealthier.
It's all in there.
You know, it's funny. When you hear the wealth of nations, you kind of picture, I don't know,
Yeah.
like Scrooge McDuck diving into a pile of gold.
Right, like it's all about hoarding treasure.
Yeah.
But Smith, he actually redefines wealth entirely.
Oh, really?
He says it's not about precious metals.
Oh.
It's about goods and services available to people.
Interesting.
And the ability of an economy to keep growing and innovating.
So more dynamic, not just static wealth.
That's it.
Okay, so let's jump in maybe with one of Smith's most famous examples,
Okay, yeah.
the pin factory.
Perfect.
I've heard this one before,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like there's more to it
There is, definitely.
than, meets the eye.
So picture one person, right, trying to make a whole pin, start to finish,
Oh, wow.
every single step.
Yeah,
They'd be lucky to make a handful a day, right?
I guess so.
But divide that labor up,
Okay.
give each worker a specialized role.
Yeah.
Suddenly, factory output explodes.
Really?
Thousands of pins.
So you're saying by breaking things down,
Mm-hmm.
you actually make more.
It seems crazy, but that's the heart of specialization.
Makes sense.
Workers become experts at their tasks.
Mm-hmm.
They save time, no more switching back and forth.
Right, right.
And that focus can actually lead to inventions.
Oh, wow.
Think about it.
Okay.
You wouldn't have smartphones if we didn't have thousands of people focusing on tiny components.
It's kind of blowing my mind.
It's all connected.
So, Smith's Pin Factory,
Yeah,
is it the blueprint for today's global supply chains
that's a great way to put it.
and those hyper-specialized industries?
Absolutely.
It's everywhere.
And you know what? This applies to, your own work, too.
Really?
Think about it.
Okay.
Could you delegate some tasks to
Mhm.
someone with different skills,
Yeah.
Let you focus on your strengths. It
Interesting.
makes a difference.
Okay, so specialization can supercharge productivity.
Totally.
Now, another famous Smith idea,
Oh, yeah.
the invisible hand.
Right.
I always thought this was kind of like
Mhm.
economic magic.
How does that even work?
Yeah. Individuals acting in their own interest,
Right.
but somehow benefiting society as a whole.
Seems backwards.
Paradoxical.
But Smith, he uses the example of a farmer.
Okay.
The farmer's goal isn't to, feed the whole world out of altruism.
Yeah.
They're trying to make a living, right?
Of course.
But in doing that,
Okay.
they respond to what the market wants.
So, supply and demand.
Exactly. High demand for wheat,
Okay.
prices go up, encourages more farmers to grow it,
Makes sense.
surplus,
Yeah.
prices drop, got to plant something else.
So it's like this dance between supply and demand,
Yeah.
guided by self-interest,
Yeah.
but benefiting everyone.
The market has its own intelligence almost,
Wow.
allocating resources where they're needed.
But it's not a perfect system, right?
Oh, of course not. No system is.
Doesn't it assume everyone has all the information
That's one thing, yeah.
and makes rational choices all the time?
Well, humans, we're not always rational.
What about, market bubbles
Oh, yeah.
fueled by,
Less than rational behavior.
exactly.
Yeah, you've got a point.
Mhm.
Economists have been debating that for ages.
I bet.
Markets aren't always perfectly efficient.
Yeah.
People are influenced by fear,
Right.
hype, all sorts of things.
But even with all that,
Mhm.
Smith's ideas about self-interest in markets,
Right.
still powerful.
They are. It's a foundation.
Okay, so we've seen how specialization makes us more productive,
Yeah.
how the invisible hand kind of guides actions towards the collective good.
It's a fascinating concept.
Now, how Smith redefined wealth itself.
Okay, let's get into that.
It's about more than just gold.
Way more. Back
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
nations measured their wealth by how much gold and silver they had.
Oh, wow.
But Smith argued that was a limited view.
Okay.
Like, what good is a mountain of gold
Yeah.
if you can't actually buy anything with it?
You're going to be hungry, that's for sure.
Exactly. He used a comparison.
Oh.
Spain at the time, they
Yeah.
had tons of gold.
Right, from their colonies.
But they weren't really prosperous
Interesting.
compared to England.
Okay.
England had a thriving, diverse economy.
So they were actually becoming wealthy,
Yeah, well, Spain was just kind of
sitting on shiny rocks.
pretty much.
That's a great way to put it.
Smith's point was real wealth is a nation's ability to create,
To innovate.
to give its people access to all sorts of goods and services.
Things that improve their lives.
That's the key.
So it's about productive capacity,
Yeah,
the well-being of society, not just piles of gold.
you got it.
This makes you think about how we measure progress today, right?
It really does.
Is it all about GDP growth?
Good question.
Or should we be looking at quality of life,
Yeah.
sustainability, social equity even?
You're hitting on all the right points.
Okay, cool.
Smith challenges us to think deeper,
Yeah, for sure.
about what a wealthy nation really looks like.
And how we define progress.
Exactly.
We've covered a lot, but there's one big thing we need to talk about.
What's that?
The role of government in all this.
Oh, right.
Smith was big on free markets, right?
He was, yeah.
So less regulation,
Mm-hmm.
more freedom for businesses to do their thing.
That's part of it, but not the whole story.
All right, so where's the line? What did Smith think governments should do?
Well, he thought well-functioning markets.
Yeah.
They're powerful, right?
Yeah.
Engines for creating wealth.
Yeah.
But he wasn't saying, like, just let everything run wild.
Yeah.
He recognized governments have essential roles.
Okay, what kind of roles?
The main one,
Yeah.
defense,
Oh, makes sense.
protecting the nation from threats.
Like nobody's going to trade if they're worried about being invaded.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Both military and economic threats, actually.
Okay.
He even used the example of a standing army to protect commerce.
Interesting.
What else? Let me think.
Mm-hmm.
Another key role. A fair legal system,
Okay, yeah.
enforcing contracts, protecting property rights,
Right.
preventing fraud, monopolies, that kind of thing.
So things that make the market work better.
Exactly. And he had a great analogy for this.
Oh, I love his analogies.
He compared government
Yeah.
to an umpire in a game.
Okay.
The umpire doesn't play,
Right.
but they make sure everyone follows the rules.
You feel cheating.
No unfair advantages.
So the government's job is to create a level playing field,
That's it.
not to pick winners and losers.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
One more thing. Smith argued that governments should provide
Yeah.
certain things that private companies might not.
Oh, like what?
Think like roads and bridges,
Okay,
canals, even public education.
I see.
Those benefit everyone,
Yeah.
but it's hard to make individuals pay for them directly.
It'd be like setting up toll booths on every road.
Exactly. Wouldn't work.
So these core functions, defense, justice, public goods, and then the government should mostly stay out of the market.
That was his general idea.
Interesting.
He warned against too much regulation,
Okay.
too much government control.
I see.
He thought that stifles innovation, competition.
So individuals are better at allocating resources.
Than like some central authority
It makes you think, because we still debate this,
all the time.
how much intervention is too much?
Right.
Think about subsidies,
Mm-hmm.
tariffs,
Mm-hmm.
price control,
All trying to influence the economy.
but sometimes it feels like they backfire.
Yeah, it's tough.
Give me some examples.
Well, subsidies can help new industries
Right.
get going, but also distort markets.
Okay, I see.
Tariffs can protect domestic industries,
Yeah.
but can also mean higher prices.
For consumers.
Exactly. Price controls
Yeah.
can make things more affordable, maybe,
Yeah.
but can also cause shortages.
So it's like a balancing act.
It really is.
Depends on the situation.
Exactly. No one-size-fits-all solution.
But Smith's idea is still important.
Very much so.
Governments have to think about the consequences of their actions
Mm-hmm.
and not stifle the market's natural, what was the word?
Dynamism.
Dynamism, yes.
Oh, that's a good one.
This is amazing. We're only scratching the surface.
We are. But it's a good start.
I feel like I'm already seeing things differently.
That's great to hear.
There's so much more to explore.
Oh, yeah.
Like Smith's idea about labor as the real source of wealth,
Super important concept.
the dangers of monopolies, which we kind of touched on,
We'll get deeper into that.
and how international trade really works.
So lots to unpack there.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's keep going.
Sounds good to me. Welcome back. We're diving deeper into Adam Smith and the wealth of nations.
I'm ready. Last time we were talking about how labor is the real source of wealth.
Right, not just land or capital.
Yeah, that got me thinking.
Oh, yeah.
We hear so much about, like, financial capital, technology being so important.
Sure.
Are we forgetting about human skill and hard work?
It's a good question. Smith believed
Yeah.
capital itself comes from labor, ultimately.
How so?
Someone had to build those factories,
Right.
invent the machines, extract the raw materials,
It all starts somewhere.
and a skilled workforce.
Yeah.
That's what makes an economy productive and innovative.
So investing in people is key.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Education,
Wow.
training, creating a good environment for workers
Yeah.
that fuels long-term growth.
Not just handing someone a finished product
Right. It's about empowering them.
to contribute.
Exactly. Teach a person to fish, right?
I love that.
More valuable than giving them one fish.
So if you follow that logic, policies that are bad for workers,
Yeah.
they'd actually hurt a nation's wealth.
You got it. Smith was really against things like
Like what?
slavery, indentured servitude.
Right.
Not just morally wrong,
Yeah.
but bad economically too.
Interesting.
Stifling potential, holding back progress.
So we shouldn't see labor as just another cost.
No way.
It's what creates value.
A well-trained, motivated workforce.
Yeah.
That's an asset, not a liability.
This is making sense, but Smith loves free markets, competition.
He does, yeah. What happens when competition goes too far? Oh, you're thinking? Yeah, like, what if one company controls everything?
We're talking monopolies?
Right. Is that a problem?
Big problem. Smith was worried about them.
Oh, yeah, in all the book.
Dedicated a whole chunk of it to that.
Really?
Criticizing the British East India Company,
The
actually.
East India Company? Remind me what they did again.
They had exclusive trading rights.
For what?
The East Indies.
So, like, no competition.
Imagine controlling all the prices, exploiting people.
Wow.
It was a huge economic empire.
No wonder Smith had a problem with that.
He argued that kind of power,
Yeah.
it messes up the market.
How so?
Prices aren't set by supply and demand anymore.
Okay.
It's the monopolist deciding.
And without competition.
No incentive to innovate, improve anything.
So monopolies hurt consumers.
Definitely higher prices, lower quality.
But they also hurt the overall economy.
They stifle everything.
Yeah.
Innovation, efficiency.
Makes sense. Competition is good.
But it needs to be kept in check.
Right. Or you get these harmful outcomes.
It's like we need to watch out for situations
Yeah.
where a few companies have too much power.
Too much control, yeah. Whether it's
Like what kinds of things?
price fixing, collusion, you name it, anything anti-competitive.
This is making me think about like big tech,
Good example.
the pharmaceutical industry,
Yeah.
even like media companies merging all the time.
All relevant examples. Smith's ideas about monopolies,
Yeah.
they apply today just as much as back then.
So it's not just competition for its own sake.
Yeah.
It's about making sure markets
Yeah.
benefit everyone, not just a small group at the top.
That's the goal. We need to keep that balance of power.
Okay, antitrust laws are going on my reading list.
Good idea.
So we've talked about specialization,
Mm-hmm.
the invisible hand, labor, monopolies.
A lot of ground covered.
What about international trade? That always seems controversial.
Trade, yeah, lots of strong opinions. Smith had some interesting ideas about it, though.
Oh, yeah.
He said even nations with different strengths,
Okay.
they can benefit from specializing.
Wait, even if a country is good at making multiple things
It's about focusing on what you do best.
and trading for the rest. That's counterintuitive.
It might seem that way, but
Okay.
this is where comparative advantage comes
It
in.
was one of Smith's big ideas, right?
One of the most influential in all of economics, actually.
Okay, break it down for me.
Sure. Let's use his classic example.
Okay.
England and Portugal trading wine and cloth.
Okay, I'm following.
Let's say both countries can make both things.
All right.
But England's better at cloth, Portugal at wine.
It makes sense so far. So why not just each country makes what they're good at? Done.
Because it's not just about being good.
What else is there?
It's about maximizing your strengths compared to others.
Okay, I think I see what you're getting at.
England might be decent at wine,
Yeah.
but they're way better at cloth compared to Portugal.
In Portugal, maybe they can make cloth, but...
They're relatively better at wine, compared to England, that is.
So if each focuses on what they're comparatively better at, and then they trade,
Exacts.
they end up with more of both goods.
More than if they tried to go it alone.
It's like a team. Right.
Perfect analogy.
You don't want everyone playing the same position.
You need people in their best spots.
For the team to win.
Exactly. And this idea, it scales up.
To, like, global trade.
Globally.
Countries specialize, trade based on comparative advantage.
Leads to greater efficiency overall, higher standard of living.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
But people argue against free trade a lot.
They do, yeah.
Job losses, especially.
Those are valid concerns.
Yeah, about globalization and all that.
We need policies to help workers who are displaced, ensure fair trade, sustainable practices. All that's important.
But overall, trade can be good.
Overall, yes. It has that potential.
So finding that sweet spot
Right.
where everyone benefits, minimizing any bad impact.
Exactly.
I didn't realize Smith was writing when mercantilism was the big thing.
Oh, yeah, that was the dominant theory.
That a country's wealth was all about how much gold they had.
Hoarding gold and silver.
Smith challenged that.
He did. He said trade, when done right,
Yeah,
could be beneficial to all involved.
he was ahead of his time. So his ideas on specialization,
Yeah.
competition, free trade, they're still shaping things today.
Absolutely. He really laid the foundation for economics.
Wow. We've got one last piece of the puzzle, though.
Which is?
Taxes and public debt.
Yes.
I bet Smith had some thoughts on those.
He did. He knew governments needed revenue.
Of course, to provide services.
But he also stressed a fair and efficient system.
For taxes.
For taxes, yeah. He had 4 main principles.
4. Okay, I'm all ears.
First, he thought taxes should be proportional.
Meaning what, exactly?
People pay according to their ability.
Oh, so if you earn more, you pay more.
In proportion to your income.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
What's the second principle?
They should be certain.
Certain.
The laws are clear, predictable.
So people know what they owe.
Exactly. When they owe it, no surprises.
Less uncertainty.
Right. Businesses can plan better.
Invest more easily, all that.
Makes for a stable economy.
What about the third principle?
Third, convenience.
What does that mean for taxes?
They should be easy to pay.
Easy to collect, too, I imagine.
Exactly. Smith said a complicated system with loopholes and exemptions
Ooh, I can see where he's going with this.
just creates burdens, encourages people to, well, cheat,
So keep it simple.
pretty much.
What's the last principle?
Efficiency.
Taxes should be efficient. What does that even mean?
They shouldn't discourage people from being productive
Okay.
or distort the market. Ideally, they raise revenue,
Yeah.
but without harming economic growth.
That sounds great in theory, but in practice,
Yeah, it's complex, balancing all those things.
it's got to be a tough job. What about public debt?
Debt, yeah.
Did Smith like it?
He was cautious about it, especially excessive debt.
Okay.
He said some borrowing might be needed for, like, big projects.
Infrastructure, stuff like that.
Right. But big, ongoing deficits.
Yeah.
He said that burdens future generations.
So again, it's about balance.
Always about balance.
Enough revenue for essential stuff,
Yeah.
but not crushing the economy or the future.
Exactly.
That debate never goes away.
No, it doesn't. Costs are rising, populations are aging.
We need infrastructure, like you said.
It's a lot to juggle.
This is amazing, seriously. We're just scratching the surface.
We are. But we've covered a lot.
It feels like I'm seeing economics differently now.
That's great to hear.
Smith's ideas are still so relevant.
They really are. But there's more to come.
Oh, good.
In the last part of our deep dive, we'll connect all this
Okay.
to some of the biggest challenges we face in the 21st century.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our look at Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations.
It's been quite a journey.
This book, honestly,
Yeah.
it's really changed how I think about how the world works,
It's amazing, isn't it?
how relevant his ideas still are.
After all this time,
Centuries later,
he really laid the groundwork for how we understand economics today.
we've talked about so much.
We have.
Specialization, the invisible hand, how important labor is, the dangers of monopolies, the potential of trade.
It's all connected.
But before we finish up,
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier.
Okay, what's that?
The idea that true wealth isn't about piles of gold,
Right, right.
but about the well-being of a whole society.
That's the heart of it, I think.
Smith believed that economic activity
Yeah.
should improve people's lives.
That's the goal. It's not just about churning out more and more stuff.
It's got to be about more than that.
It's about creating a society where everyone can thrive.
So not just GDP, but
Yeah.
quality of life, access to education and healthcare.
All of that. Smith talked about justice, morality, social harmony.
Really?
He said a truly wealthy nation.
Okay.
It's not just prosperous.
Yeah.
It's virtuous, well-governed.
Wow. That's a powerful statement.
It is, yeah.
It makes us think about progress differently.
Not just looking at the numbers.
Right. More holistically.
It makes you ask some tough questions.
Like what?
Are we focusing too much on material wealth at the expense of other values?
Are our economic policies actually fair?
Yeah. Are they helping everyone?
Or just a select few?
Those are the questions we need to be asking.
Big questions. I don't know if they're easy answers.
No, probably not. But
good.
Smith's work gives us a way to think about them.
A framework for tackling them.
Exactly. He makes us consider the ethics of our economic choices.
Trying to build a society that's both prosperous and just.
That's the goal.
As we wrap this up, what are the big takeaways?
Well, I think the most important one is economic systems, they're complex.
Super complex.
There's no easy fix, no one solution that works everywhere.
It's not about blindly following one ideology.
Right. It's about understanding the principles.
Okay.
And applying them thoughtfully.
To the challenges of our time.
To today's world.
Smith's ideas about human capital, free markets, a limited but effective government.
Yeah.
I think those are a good foundation.
I think so. For building a better world, more prosperous, more equitable.
This has been incredible.
It has.
I've learned so much.
That's great to hear.
I'm seeing the world through a whole new lens.
That's what we hope for with these deep dives.
To make people think differently.
To spark curiosity, encourage critical thinking.
Give people the tools to understand the world.
That's it, exactly.
Any final thoughts before we go?
Just this. Smith's ideas are valuable.
Yeah.
But he was writing over 200 years ago.
Right.
The world has changed in ways he couldn't imagine.
Like what?
Think about climate change.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence, how fast it's developing. Global inequality, that's a big
Those are huge issues.
They demand new solutions.
New ways of thinking about economics.
We need to build on Smith's insights. Adapt them to the 21st century.
So his work is a starting point.
A foundation.
Yeah, not the final word.
It's up to us to figure out the rest.
That's a challenge, but also an opportunity.
Definitely.
If we keep thinking, keep talking, keep the focus on people,
The human element, yeah.
we can build a better future. Prosperous and just.
I believe that too.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
I can't wait to see what we explore next.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning,